The biggest thrill in my life had nothing to do with playing football or being a part of anything. The biggest thrill in my life came, oh, so many years ago when Robin, my wife, made me a father for the first time. And that was September the 23rd, 1969. Our son Blake was born. A few years after that, she gave me a daughter, Marcy Ann. That was on May 31st, 1974. And I was made a father for the second time. And those were the most thrilling days of my life. Those were the days that it really meant something to me. That God gave me two beautiful, well, I thought they were beautiful. Blake looked like an alien, but in fact, first time I saw Blake, I went, oh my God, all of my sins they're going to take out on this little baby. He had a weird looking head, and they had forceps bringing him out, and I'm thinking, what did you do to my son? You know, and I thought, well, it's probably me. But he grew out of that pretty quickly and became one of the most beautiful babies that, of course, I've ever seen in my life until here a couple of years ago when my granddaughter was born. But that's exciting to me. That's exciting stuff. I want to share some things with you all this afternoon that's very meaningful to me. You know, I've spoke to all different types of groups all over the country, especially in the area where I reside in Oklahoma and the surrounding states. And we talk about a lot of stuff, and I've had a lot of, especially when I do like high school football teams and things like that, and they'll ask me, said, hey, we want to hear about big time football. I said, you do? Yeah. Tell us something about it. And I said, well, okay. Let me tell you about the biggest time football I've ever played in my life. I said, it was on Friday nights all over the state of Oklahoma for the Enid Plainsmen and the Bristow Purple Pirates, because I went to two high schools. And they look at me kind of funny. No, we're talking about, I said, I know what you're talking about. But see, you don't understand. That was big time. That was the biggest time football I ever played in my life because it was the most meaningful time. It meant more to me than any other time. As my old high school coach used to say, in college, they'll recruit you, they'll give you scholarships, so they more or less pay you to play for them. In the pros, they draft you, and they do pay you to play. But in high school, you raise them from babies, and they play for you because they love it. And that's exactly the way it was. My high school senior year at Enid, 1962, we had a good team. That was back, we played 11 men, played both ways. We lost a game by the score of 7-6. The guy missed an extra point. We're still looking for him. You can't trust kickers anyway. They're just not trustworthy. But we talked about that at our 10-year high school reunion. Still talking about it because it cost us a chance to play for the state championship. And that high school team that I played on in Enid that year, 8 of the starting 11 went to D1 schools on scholarship. 2 of us were college All-Americas. One was drafted number 19. I was drafted number 29 in the pro draft. So we had a pretty good high school team. But we lost a chance to play for the state championship by a missed extra point. In our 10-year reunion, we were mad about it. At our 20-year reunion, we were mad about it. At our 30-year reunion, the guy didn't show up this time. I'm talking about the guy that missed the extra point because we just lambasted him those first 20 years. He thought he'd give us a break. At the 40-year reunion, he showed up again, thinking, surely they've forgotten by now. Nope. You see, that was special to us. It meant something to us. And that goes back into what I really want to talk about. Happened to me when my son Blake was playing high school football in Edmond, at Edmond Memorial High School. That was back when Edmond had one high school. They got 3 now. This was back in the 80s, in 85, 6, and 7 was his 3 years of varsity ball. And I'll never forget Blake's senior year. That was exciting for us. I remember going to those games and watching him play, and they had a good team. And they went down to Lawton, Oklahoma, in the southern part of the state, to play Lawton High School. Now, I knew they had a pretty good team, but I didn't realize just how good they really were until that night when we went to Lawton, and I watched my son and his teammates play a real good high school football team. In fact, I think one of the best I've ever seen. 4 of them went to the NFL. 2 of them are still playing. The guy that Blake got to play up against plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. His name is Will Shields. Pretty good player. In fact, real good player. I was watching him and watching Blake battle all night long, and I'm thinking, wow, it's going to be a long night. And sure enough, when the night was over with, the score read Lawton 26, Edmond 8. I knew my son was going to be real disappointed because he didn't like losing, which was fine with me. I didn't like losing either. Show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. Yeah. Robin and I think it was my dad that was with us. We went down on the field, and I asked him to hold back just a minute and let me talk to Blake for a minute, one-on-one. And I went up to him, and there he was standing. Been through battle all night long. Been through real tough battle all night long. He had his helmet in his right hand. Those tears were kind of welling up in his eyes. He was real disappointed. And I looked at him and I said, son, I want you to know something. I said, I'm really proud of you tonight. That might be the best game I've seen you play all year. And he looked at me kind of funny, like, Dad's flipped again. He said, I said to him, I said, son, I said, the young man you played against was as fine a high school football player as I've ever seen play. I imagine we'll be watching him playing on Sundays one day. And sure enough, we still are. Blake looked at me kind of funny, and I said, son, I'm going to tell you something. Tonight, you've become a champion, because champions never quit, especially in the face of adversity. And son, you had some adversity tonight. God, I'm proud of you, and I love you. And I gave him a hug, and I told him to go over and hug his mama and his grandpa. And he did, just like I asked him to do. And I'm going to tell you something, friends. I'll never forget that night. Watching him walk off that field with that number 55 on his back, his head held high. And I told him, I said, I will see you at home after a while. He said, okay, Dad. And that goes back, for me, these wonderful memories, because I had a son that not only loved to play football, but he played it with passion. If you're going to play anything, why don't you go ahead and play it with passion? Don't do it just halfway. It doesn't work very well. I don't care what you're doing. And that's one of the things that I was always proud of my son about. My children have been a big part of me being where I'm at right now, standing here in front of you. 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, back in July of 1985, my two